Hello, this is Steve Messineo. It's 12:58. Webinar is going to start at 1 o'clock. This is the everything you This is the webinar for everything that you know about marketing is wrong and how you can correct it and make it better for your audience. So bear with us a minute. It's about 2 minutes before we get started here. Just waiting for people to register and get going, and we'll get the ball rolling here in a few minutes. Hi, Steve Messineo. It's 12:59, almost 1 o'clock. Getting ready to start our webinar here today. Everything you learned about generating leads and growing your business is wrong, and basically how you can correct it. So I'm going to get started in a moment here. And just bear with me as we wait for people to register. Okay, I see people are logging in right now. I see people are coming into the webinar. We're going to get started in a moment, folks. Please bear with me here. I'm going to bring up my PowerPoint screen, and we're going to start at 1:01. Let's get going here. Share my screen with you guys. Go. Okay. And I believe everybody should be able to see my screen now. All right, before we get started, folks, I'm just going to verify that you guys can see my screen. So all I want you to do is do me a favor and just, if you see the screen as it is right now, type a yes into the chat box that you see on the webinar screen on your end, and that'll verify that. It'll tell me that we're good to go here. So go ahead and type in a yes if you see my screen. Go back and check what the chat box says. All right, guys, anybody saying yes to that for me, please? Let me know if you actually see my screen. Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna get the ball rolling then. Here we go. Back to screen share. And play. Okay, so my name is Steve Messineo, owner of YourBizSuccessCoach.com. Thank you for joining me today for this webinar. And really what I'm going to present is everything that you ever learned about generating leads and growing your business and marketing is wrong. And the reason I say that is probably most cases it's true. Now, it's a pretty bold statement, I know, and the fact of the matter is unless you've been some really comprehensive marketing courses on for your business to help you grow your business and you have a lot of background in marketing, chances are good what you've learned is not really going to get you anywhere with your marketing. And this is what this presentation is all about. So I'm going to teach you a system in marketing, okay, that is going to get basically, it's going to become instantly obvious for your prospects that they'd be an absolute idiot to do business with anyone other than you at any time or any price. That is really the goal of this, is to show you how to be an effective marketer so that anybody who sees what you're offering will realize that you're the guy to go to, all right, in business. So for example, let's say you're a chiropractor. You just spent more than $10,000 on radio advertising. You spent an entire weekend with an audio crew in your office, interviewing your staff, explaining your facility, and getting the entire production just right for prime time over the airways. And after all that work, effort, and expense, you ran the ad for several weeks, your phone rang only 15 times, and those ads resulted in producing just one single patient at $1,900. How would you feel after investing $10,000 and winding up with a net loss of $8,100 that you'll never get back? Not to mention all the time, effort, and energy wasted. But let me ask you this. What if you could take just $1,300 of that marketing budget and just by changing what your radio ad says, instead of getting 15 calls resulting in one sale, you could generate 137 calls, close 37 of those calls into brand new paying patients, each worth an average of $2,500, and you pocket a cool $92,500 for your trouble. That's what's called getting more results, making more money for the same time, the same money, and the same efforts spent. What if I could show you how to systematically do this for your business? Let me show you how you can leverage what you're already doing and how you too can get those exact same results for your business just by changing the way you do all of your marketing and advertising. I'm not talking about radical changes, just simple common sense changes that enable you to exponentially leverage your marketing results. That $10,000 marketing budget the chiropractor was spending remained the same whether they were getting 15 calls or 137 calls. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can accomplish these same results with your marketing in the process dominate your entire industry. In this short presentation, I'm going to teach you how to achieve massive leverage with your marketing, meaning simply that you'll make more money for the same time, the same money, and the same effort you're expending right now. Why will this enable you to dominate your local market? Simple. Most businesses simply don't know how to do this. They don't understand the tremendous untapped potential that lies within their marketing. Most businesses today spend some money on marketing and advertising and then decide that whatever results they get from that marketing is probably about as good as it's going to get. They realize that the results can fluctuate up and down, but they never imagine that results like the chiropractor, where they got 137 calls instead of 15, is even remotely possible. I'm here to tell you point blank that nothing could be further from the truth. The marketing system I'm going to teach you today is based on unchanging principles of human nature that dictate that people always want to make the best buying decision possible, and therefore, marketing's job, your job, is not to yak incessantly about how great you are or how low your prices are. Your job is to position your prospective buyers so they have total control over the decision-making process, based on them having enough quantity and quality of information to determine that they're receiving the most value for the price they pay. The system I'm going to teach you is truly a breakthrough in marketing and advertising, yet it's simple and easily to understand. My coaching colleagues and I have thousands of client successes to prove that this works literally every time it's implemented properly, regardless of what business or industry you're in. I'm going to introduce some very common sense principles of marketing that you'll be able to instantly validate and embrace. Principles that will give you a clear vision of what your marketing is supposed to look like, and just as importantly, what it's not supposed to look like. And by the way, I'm speaking very fast because I got a lot to cover today, and I want to make sure we get all this in the next hour. I'll show you the fundamental formulas and strategies to not only make your marketing work better, but to enable you to create what we call competition-crushing marketing. I want you to see how powerful all this is, allow you to comprehend what the possibilities are for your business, and what a significant advantage you'll hold over your competitors when you implement it. So let's get started. There are two main components to any marketing plan. There's strategic marketing, and then there's tactical marketing. Strategic marketing is the content of your message. It's what you say and how you say it, including the concepts that you choose to focus on, the words and images you use to communicate those concepts, and the tone in which the message is delivered. Tactical marketing, on the other hand, has to do with the execution of the strategic marketing. This includes placing ads, building a website, attending trade shows, and things like that. If I ask any business owner about their marketing plan, the answer always comes back in terms of tactical marketing. They'll send direct mail, or they run radio ads, or they create a website, those type of things. But the key to effective marketing is really to master the strategic side of it, not the tactical. What you say in your marketing and how you say it are always more important than the marketing medium where you say it. Both are important, of course, but the real leverage is in the messaging itself and the strategic side of marketing. In fact, when a marketing campaign bombs, the tendency is almost always to blame the marketing medium, like the TV or radio station, which is the tactical part of the plan, without any regard to how good or how bad the strategy behind the marketing piece was. During this presentation, you'll learn how to say things in a way that will make a profound difference in your marketing results. This system has been successfully implemented in over 400 different industries, including business coaches, social media consultants, contractors, business brokers, accountants, financial companies, retail stores, real estate companies, home builders, restaurants, software companies, doctors, dentists, remodelers, internet companies, manufacturing companies, and anything and everything else you can think of. One of my colleagues even used it to help a $10 per hour dog walker build his business to over $500,000. This new lead generation system works with all sizes of businesses, from startups up to Fortune 500 companies. But our passion lies in working with small businesses averaging $2 million in revenue and below. The system will finally allow you to quit competing on price and start selling your product or service for what you're really worth. You'll drive in more leads, and you often see an increase in your advertising response by 2 to more than 100 times. You'll also convert a higher percentage of those leads and make your salespeople into superstars. You'll increase the amount of your average sale, and your list of clients that pay, stay, and refer will increase significantly. In short, you'll be getting bigger bang for your marketing buck, but maybe best of all, you'll finally have the total control of your marketing and lead generation results. So let me ask you one simple question. What is the actual purpose of marketing? I mean, what is marketing really supposed to do? Well, in a nutshell, marketing is supposed to help facilitate your prospect's decision-making process. There are prospects out there that need to buy what you sell. Sometimes they need to be educated to the fact that they need to buy what you sell in the first place. And other times they already know they want it, but they need help deciding who they should buy it from. Often they think they might want what you sell, but have questions and concerns that need to be overcome before they pull out their credit card or checkbook. But consider this. Because these prospects are not experts in what you do, or their exposure to what you sell is quite low, they really don't know the relevant issues surrounding the purchase. They don't know how to make the best decision. They can't tell the difference between the best deal and a major mistake, which leaves an opportunity for you to provide them with this information and then guide them through the buying process. Consider this example. Throughout your life, how many sunroofs have you ever bought? Have you bought 5, 2, 1, or like 99% of home owners, you've probably bought none? Let's assume you fall into that group of 99% of people who've never bought a sunroom before. Do you have any idea how to buy a sunroom? Can you tell the difference between a $10,000 sunroom and a $25,000 one just by looking at it? Of course you can't. Now realize that when people need to buy what you sell, they are, generally speaking, just as clueless about what you're selling as you are about sunrooms. So your job, simply put, is to facilitate the prospect's decision-making process. It's really pretty simple. All prospects and customers want the exact same things, and it really doesn't matter what type of business you have. They want to feel confident that their money has been well spent, and their decision has been made to the best of their ability. They want to get the best deal, not just the best price, but the best deal in terms of overall value. People instinctively want to make the best decision possible and not feel like they've got to second guess their buying decision. You as the marketer, your job as the marketer is to figure out what's important to your prospects, educate them as to what constitutes the best deal when it comes to buying what you sell, and remember value. Then show them quantifiable proof that you actually provide the best deal in terms of price and value. All this has to be communicated to them in a way that they'll pay attention to, believe in, and then take an action on. When this occurs, the prospect gets what they really want from you, complete confidence that they have actually made the best decision possible and that they truly have gotten the best value. But here's the problem. Instead of using marketing to educate and facilitate the decision-making process and build the case as to why a product or service is the best on the market, most businesses fill their marketing with self-serving jargon, and that's only thinly veiled to say, hey, buy it from me because I want you to give me the money instead of my competitor. That's why people become jaded, and that's why they resist marketing. They tend to either dismiss your entire message, or worse, they become skeptical and stop paying attention to the message altogether. Prospective buyers want and need to be educated so they can feel confident when making their purchase decision and no one's providing it. But here's the good news. The first one who does provide all this information wins the battle. Okay, you're going to get the most customers. You're going to make the most profits. When mismarketing is done improperly, the end result is 100% predictable. You start to feel intense pricing pressure from your prospects, and typically you're forced to cave in, lower your prices, destroy your margins, and make way less money than you should have just to stay competitive. And you get to spend more time at work and away from your family than those that are successful at implementing this process. But here's the brutal truth, and really no offense, but if you're always competing on price, it's your own fault. Your lack of marketing ability has led to a situation when there's no discernible difference between you and your competition. There have been no additional parameters or relevant issues introduced to educate your prospects as to what really constitutes the best value when it comes to buying what you sell. If you feel like you're always competing on price, it's because price is only relevant variable that you've given your prospects to consider. From the prospect's perspective, all things appear equal, so they default to the business offering lowest price. I'm about to show you how to fix that once and for all. This system, simply put, is a step-by-step program for innovating and marketing your business. The system will allow you to first be better than the competition, and then second, the system will allow you to do better marketing than your competition. This allows you to separate your business from your competition and become the obvious choice for your prospects to do business with. Consider this. There are actually two sides of your business. First is what I call the inside reality, and second, what I call the outside perception. The inside reality really encompasses everything you do and everything that makes your business great. It's all of your skills, the people who work for you, your expertise, the way you service your customers before, during, and after the sale. It's your systems, your operational procedures, your commitment to excellence. It's your passion, and it's the way you conduct your business on a daily basis. Add all of these together, and they equal your value to the marketplace. That is really my phone ringing, and I apologize for that. Let me just turn that off. But that's what I call the inside reality. When you have those things in place, they add up to your inside reality. So, what is your inside reality? If you ask your customers why they buy from you, they could probably tell you something quantifiable, specific, and instantly obvious. They could point to specific benefits they enjoy when doing business with you. Then they would say things like, that's why I do business here, that's why I refer my friends to come here, and that's why I'm a loyal customer. That's why I'm willing to pay more here, and I keep coming back. That's your inside reality. So your inside reality is all about what you do and what you are that allows you to perform better. Now, however, your outside perception has to do with how customers and prospects perceive your company. The outside perception is developed through the interactions that your prospects and customers have with your business. Your customers will draw on their past buying experiences with you to form the outside perception of your business. But here's the problem. If you provide unmatched and unequal customer service and your customers absolutely love you, none of that matters to your prospects. Number one, if they don't know you even exist as an option, or number two, they see your marketing and advertising, and because of your inability to market your business properly, their perception is that you're no different or no better or no worse than your competitors. I would estimate that well over 95% of all businesses are completely inept when it comes to marketing. And the end result is that your inside reality and your outside perception are perceived to be different. Regardless of how good you are, regardless of your inside reality, your prospect isn't going to be able to figure out your true inside reality based on your marketing. You simply appear to be just another business that sells whatever it is you sell. And don't say, well, that's okay because I have a salesperson. And when they get in front of my prospects, they'll be able to educate them and close the sale. Listen, that's a great theory, but I can tell you that even your best salesperson is never going to close a prospect who doesn't know you exist, and therefore never bothers to contact you in the first place. Remember the chiropractor? 137 calls versus 15 calls? That's an extra 122 calls a month. People who are not calling this chiropractor prior to changing his marketing. How can you close people who never contact you? Obviously you can't. That's why your marketing must do the heavy lifting for you. Let your marketing deliver eager, qualified prospects to your sales funnel. But here's even worse news. Competition today is more fierce than it has ever been. How many competitors do you have in your business right now? Because that's how many choices your prospects have, and that's how many additional businesses they have to sift through and filter through as they attempt to reach a buying decision. By the way, the internet has only made the problem worse. You ever noticed lately that everybody's going bonkers for online marketing? SEO, pay-per-click, Facebook marketing, social marketing. Really, rightfully so. Most prospects are so busy these days that most of them start their buying process by researching online. And here's the sad reality for businesses advertising online. They spend a ton of their time and a ton of their effort and money just to get the prospects to their website. And guess what their prospects see when they get there? The same old lame junk, service, quality, and dependability that they saw in their lame brochure before the internet was invented, as well as the same lame junk that all their competitors have on their websites. These businesses then curse their high bounce rate and then try to figure out how to get better qualified traffic to visit their site. The reality is they're probably already getting enough qualified traffic to their site as it is, but fail to realize that it's their lame website that's not converting their prospects, and that's the real problem. Everyone looks at the internet as the end-all be-all to the marketing problems. The reality is that the internet is just another medium to screw up your marketing with, bland messages that do nothing to facilitate the decision-making process of your prospects. Yes, the internet is an important tool to your marketing arsenal, but you have to have a great website, and that means you better fix your strategic messaging that I've been talking about, or you're going to fail. There's an old saying that goes like this: if you want to know what Jane Doe buys, you've got to see the world through Jane Doe's eyes. But the problem with that is, while most businesses are very good at knowing what Jane Doe wants, because they aren't communication experts, they don't have the ability to communicate through their advertising and marketing their inside reality to the outside world. They can't lead their prospects to say, I would be an idiot to do business with anyone other than you at any time, anywhere, or any price. So in my experience, that most businesses could stand some improvement in both their inside reality and their outside perception. But for some reason, they struggle with mostly with their outside perception. In other words, they've got a great business, but most of them offer exceptional value and have a good inside reality. But with all the competition that exists, they have a major problem of differentiating themselves from the rest of their marketplace, simply because they're not getting the value of the business across to those looking from the outside in. So what about you? What's your outside perception? Go grab your marketing. Look at your ads. Take a look at your website. Is it instantly obvious, specifically quantifiably, what makes you better and unique and different? Do you show your prospects how to judge your industry, what factors they need to consider when deciding what to buy, and how you provide greater value than your competitors? You'll realize, as these concepts start to sink in, that the crux of most marketing problem, including yours, can be wrapped up in one simple statement. Most businesses' outside perception is not an accurate reflection of their inside reality. So I'm going to show you why this is happening and what you can do to fix this for your business forever. I told you at the beginning of this presentation that everything you know about generating leads and growing your business is wrong. Let me clarify that statement, what that statement means based on what we've discussed so far. So everything you currently know about marketing does not effectively allow you to accurately and succinctly portray your inside reality to the outside world. This is a product of decades of being conditioned to do marketing the wrong way. In the very early days of advertising, I'm talking the late 1800s and early 1900s, much of the advertising that existed back then was comparative in nature. Ads wouldn't just say, hey, we're better. They'd say, we're better, and here's why. Here's exactly why, based on this and that. On average, they did a pretty good job of building a case and helping prospective buyers understand the important issues in regards to their particular product or service. The result was the outside perception was generally a pretty good reflection of the company's inside reality. Then the most significant event in history of marketing and advertising occurred in 1945. Television was commercially introduced for the first time. Up until then, total national distribution of advertising message was extremely limited to radio, print advertising, and a few magazines, and maybe the Sears catalog. With the introduction of TV, larger advertisers could buy a commercial and reach just about every living person in the country for $4,000 a minute, usually sold in 1 or 2 minute blocks. What a bargain, even in 1950s money. Back then, there were only 3 channels, so demand quickly outstripped the supply of commercials, and prices shot through the roof in response to the rising cost. The length of commercials shrank down from 2 minutes to 30 seconds. This meant that advertisers had less time to educate us on the important and relevant issues and build the case as to why they were different or better or unique. So instead of attempting to use shorter ads that highlighted their comparative benefits, advertisers changed tactics and started using slogans. That change made it harder and harder for companies' outside perception to accurately reflect its inside reality. But remember that marketing's first job is simply to get the prospect's attention. Even running just 30-second ads, getting attention was still not a problem for these advertisers. But then what? That's right. After you grab the prospect's attention, you must facilitate their decision-making process. Companies and their ad agencies found that this was a lot harder to do in 30 seconds, but they also found out that they didn't really need to do it because the number of real competitors, that is, the number of competitors that could actually afford to advertise on TV and run ads against their ads, was wonderfully few. They could spend a ton of money running 30-second ads and win by default. Now, if there happen to be 2 or 3 major competitors jockeying for the same products, say prospects, say like Pepsi and Coke, that was fine because there was plenty of business to divide 2 or 3 ways. The bottom line is the company's inside reality and outside perception didn't really have to match up. The lack of substantial number of choices eliminated this necessity. So the focus for all marketing and advertising shifted simply to getting prospects' attention. That's when advertising lost its penchant for selling and instead shifted its focus to creativity. The idea now was to get in the consumer's brain with something creative that would stimulate them and cause them to recall the product later and when they needed it. That's when slogans became the de facto marketing standard that is still in use today. Oh, sorry about that, folks. 15 minutes can save you 50% more on car insurance. What's that from? Geico, of course. The Breakfast of Champions. Wheaties. Home of the Whopper. Burger King. How about this one? Is it live or is it? That's right, Memorex. How did you know that? The commercial hasn't run since 1970s. This new creative approach took over advertising as we know it and soon began to filter into all advertising media, including radio, Google AdWords, newspapers, magazines, billboards, yellow pages, websites, you name it. Once this new creative message was in place, the big companies opened up their checkbooks, spent lots of money, and basically gave people no other option but to remember their message. After hearing things go better with Coke for the 80,000th time, you're going to remember it whether you want to or not. This is called C and R advertising. C for creativity and R for repetition. Create an ad that is unusual, weird, shocking, funny, emotional, and so on. Spend $1 billion running that ad about 1 million times, then haul your dough to the bank. We call this the era of brand builders. And in the 1950s, 60s, and even 70s, it was a no-brainer formula for market dominance for companies with financial wherewithal to pull this off. And that's when it happened. Ad agencies started running this formula for all of their other clients, even the ones that were smaller and didn't have deep pockets. Business schools started teaching marketing and advertising based on these methods that were being successfully implemented by the largest companies in the world and churning out graduates who only knew one way to do marketing. Brand builder marketing and advertising became the de facto standard for how you do it. And after a few years, no one else even questioned the formula, which brings us to the crux of the problem. All of us alive today, with no exceptions, grew up in an era where almost all the advertising you've ever seen or heard is a product of the era of brand builders. Over time, we've all become conditioned as to what constitutes a good advertisement. We learn the fundamental pattern for what we put into a commercial. We learned about slogans and jingles and being funny. We learned that in marketing and advertising, the outside perception no longer has to reflect the inside reality. Let me repeat what I just said at the very beginning of the presentation. Everything you ever learned about generating leads and growing your business is wrong. And now you know why. As a result of this new breed of advertising, jargon has now started to dominate all marketing and advertising. Think of jargon as words or phrases that are drearily commonplace and predictable, that lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition, and that are nevertheless stated as if they were original or significant. In advertising, you see and hear jargon all of the time. Since businesses only have 30 seconds to try to convey what makes them special, they lump everything into jargon such as largest selection, most professional, Lowest prices, highest quality, best service, fastest, most convenient, largest in the state, more honest. We're the experts. We specialize, works harder, gets the job done right the first time, and been in business for 4,000 years. Now listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't be those kinds of things. Those actually make up the foundation of you want to use to build your inside reality. But consider this. If my marketing says that I offer high quality and great service, isn't that drearily commonplace and predictable? Doesn't it lack power to evoke interest through overuse or repetition? Isn't it nevertheless stated as though it were original and significant? Does my inside reality, what makes me really good at what I do, does that really shine through? Can you tell specifically what makes me valuable to the marketplace when I say highest quality or best service? See, you simply can't describe, demonstrate, exhibit, reveal, or display your inside reality using jargon. It's impossible. And unfortunately, the end result is an outside perception that you're no different than anyone else. There's absolutely no distinction, no separation, and no differentiation. None. You just flat out can't make your inside reality and your outside perception match up when you use jargon like this. In fact, let me give you several ways you can easily and quickly evaluate your own marketing to see if you're getting caught up in the jargon trap. Jargon evaluation number one is what we call, well, I would hope so. When you make a claim, don't think about it in terms of the words coming out of your mouth. Think about it in terms of the words entering your prospect's ears. This will enable you to realize just how absurd most jargon sounds. Look at the messaging in your marketing and then ask yourself if the prospect's immediate response might be, well, I would hope so. Let me give you an example. I recently saw a TV ad for a remodeling company. Throughout the ad, they continually emphasized the fact that their work was of the highest quality. It was fairly priced, and they guaranteed 100% satisfaction. Well, I would hope so. Would you hire any remodeler who didn't provide all of those as standard part of their service? Of course not. This is all jargon, drearily commonplace, lacks power to evoke interest through overuse or repetition. How about this one from a consulting company? Our training leads to change. We increase the productivity, performance, and profit of your company. Well, I certainly would hope so. Does anyone hire a consultant for any other reason than to do those things? Most ads today are nothing more than a jargon fest. Does this jargon tell you anything about these companies' inside reality? What else would you expect them to say? Everyone always is going to say wonderful things about their company if they can get away with it. The problem is that your company has an exceptional inside reality, and you're using the same jargon as everyone else. And the outside perception is that you're all the same. And that's when the prospects default to the company or offering the lowest price. Price now becomes the only determining factor. When you use this simple evaluation, just ask yourself openly and honestly why anyone would choose you over your competition. Then evaluate your answer against the well, I would hope so evaluation. And finally, check out all of your advertising and marketing materials, including your website. Do they pass the, oh, I hope so evaluation, or are they all chock full of jargon? If they fail, then you need to make changes. Here's a second evaluation technique called Who Else Can Say That? This is similar to the first evaluation technique, and it's also a product of an era of brand builders. Pay very close attention to this one. Stop thinking in terms of who else can say, do what you do. Instead, think of it in terms of who else can say what you can say. Sorry about that, folks. All right. So who else can say what you can say? Because the answer, unfortunately, is usually anybody can say what you can say. So a kitchen remodeler ran the most impressive remodeling company in his community. Every member of his crew had at least 15 years of remodeling experience. They were all certified subcontractors. They had won multiple industry awards. They were the only kitchen remodeling company that provided not only a full satisfaction guarantee, but also a 10-year material and labor warranty on everything they did. They left the job site every night cleaner than when they first arrived. They also guaranteed that they could remodel any kitchen in no more than 5 days, half the time of their competitors. This, of course, meant far less disruption and inconvenience to the homeowner. In short, their inside reality was literally second to none, but they had a huge marketing problem. Their marketing looked virtually identical to all of their far less worthy competitors. Their marketing said things like certified subcontractors, guaranteed satisfaction, and the long laundry list of work they performed, such as new cabinets installed, complete kitchen remodeling, and so on. Oh, and get this, they accepted Visa and MasterCard. Well, I would hope so. So now, who else can say that? When the owner of this remodeling company was asked that very question, he got really defensive. He said, there's no other remodeler that can begin to match the work we do. Our subcontractors are far and away the best there is. No one, and I mean no one, can say what we say. Understandably, this contractor was extremely passionate and protective when it came to the superior company he'd worked so long and so hard to develop over the years. So finally, to try to get the point across to them, he was asked to pull up the websites of his 5 biggest competitors to see what all of them were saying on their homepage. Let's just say his jaw hung open for about 2 minutes straight before he finally pointed out at the screen and said, oh my gosh, look at that other company's website. I know this guy. He's terrible, but his site says the exact same thing as mine. In fact, I think he copied my site word for word. He looked at the other remodelers and saw that all of their websites were virtually identical to his as well. It's not who can do what you do, it's who can say what you can say. If your marketing is full of jargon, then sadly, that answer is all of your competitors can. Let me give you one final jargon detection evaluation. It's called the scratch out and write in test. Take a look at your brochure or your advertisement on your website. Now, scratch out your name and write in your competitor's name. That's it. If the marketing is still valid, if the website still conveys the same basic message, if there wouldn't need to be any additional changes, then guess what? You just failed this test. This evaluation can be very revealing. Most businesses discover that they run fairly high on the jargon meter. You may find that your inside reality, excellent as it may be, is nowhere to be found in your marketing message, but it's all but lost in a sea of jargon and completely invisible to your prospects. So there you go. So let me ask, is this making sense to everybody here? Is it evident that this might be a problem for you now, and it's a tremendous competitive advantage if you can figure out how to fix this for your own business? So let me show you how to fix this. Let me explain how you can follow a very simple process we call the conversion equation. And when you do, you eliminate jargon forever. I'm going to show you how to become a communications powerhouse, make your outside perception become an excellent reflection of your inside reality, and finally begin to get the results from your marketing that you should be getting. The conversion equation has 4 main components. Let me start with a brief introduction, and then I'll go into more detail. The first component of the conversion equation is called interrupt. This is simply the process of getting qualified prospects to pay attention to your marketing. This is often accomplished by affecting the prospect emotionally. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it's a lot more difficult to pull this off in real life, unless you understand what you're about to learn here. The second component is engage. Once the prospect is interrupted, it's critical you give the reader the promise that information is forthcoming that'll help the prospect make the best decision possible, or in other words, facilitate their decision-making process. This is also best accomplished on an emotional level. The third component is educate. Once you've interrupted and engaged the prospect, you have to give them the information that allows them to logically understand how and why you solved their emotional problem. This is accomplished by giving them detailed, quantifiable, specific, inside reality revealing information. This turns the corner from an emotional sell, remember, you interrupted and engaged them based on an emotional hot button, to a logical sell. This is easy to do if you just follow this conversion equation. And finally, the fourth and final component is the offer. Now, the prospect has been interrupted based on problems that are important to them emotionally, engaged by the promise of a solution to that emotional problem, and they've examined the educational information that makes your solution to that emotional problem real and believable. So the last step for you is to give that prospect a low, or better yet, no risk way for them to take the next step in the sales process. This can be accomplished by offering a free marketing tool, such as a report, brochure, seminar, audio, video, or something similar that educates them even more, so the prospect feels in complete control of the decision-making process. This conversion equation follows the formula for what marketing is supposed to do in the first place. In fact, at this point, we can simply say that marketing's job is to interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. Remember earlier we discussed that if you want to know what Jane Doe buys, what Jane Doe buys, or what he wants to know why Jane Doe buys what Jane Doe buys, you got to see the world through Jane Doe's eyes, right? And I just messed that up. So, well, I would submit to you that to completely grasp this model, you got to learn the third major concept about how Jane Doe's brain works. It's called the reticular activator system. The reticular activator is the part of your brain that's on lookout 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when you're asleep. It constantly scans the environment looking for things that fall into any of these three categories. Things that are familiar, things that are unusual, and things that are problematic. Okay? When the brain detects any of these three categories on a subconscious level, it sends a message over to the conscious side of the brain and says, hey, wake up. There's something here you need to pay attention to. And by the way, whatever those familiar, unusual, or problematic things are, we call them activators. In short, your brain on a subconscious level is constantly on the lookout for activators. It's searching for things that are familiar, things that are unusual, or things that are problematic. In other words, things that demand a conscious response. Whenever it finds one, it pokes your conscious brain and snaps out of downtime sleep mode and into uptime alert mode. Let me give you an example of the raw power of your own reticular activator, and please don't get mad at me from what I'm about to do to you. Let me just catch up to my slides here because I had a little error here. All right. I'm going to permanently embed this example directly into your reticular activator system, and I guarantee that you'll remember this for the remainder of your life on the planet. So here we go. I'm certain at some point over the past several weeks you've glimpsed the FedEx truck making its deliveries. FedEx has been in business since June 18, 1971. That's a lot of years those trucks have been driving around town. So let me ask you a question. How many times have you seen those FedEx trucks? Over the 40-plus years they've been in business, I would wager to say that you have seen the trucks a minimum of 1,000 times. So here's question number 2. Have you ever seen the hidden message within the FedEx logo? Yes, that's a serious question. Did you know that there's a hidden message within every FedEx logo? If you're saying right now that's impossible, you've seen that logo thousands of times and you certainly wouldn't have noticed the message in there at some point in time, then join the crowd. 99% of the population have never seen that hidden message. Ready for me to tell you where it is? Next time you see a FedEx logo, look between the E and the X in FedEx. You will see an arrow pointing to the right. It's plain as day, and yet very few people have ever detected it over all these years. And guess what? That logo was specifically designed that way from the start. It isn't just something that happened by coincidence when the designer created it. Almost no one sees it, but guess what? You will now, every time you look at that logo. Why? Because now that I have drawn your attention to it, coupled with the fact that you had no idea it was there before, the next time you see that arrow, your brain will perceive it as to be unusual. And it'll trigger your reticular activator system. Remember, things that are familiar, unusual, or problematic poke your brain and make it pay attention through your reticular activator. But guess what's going to happen next? Now that you know that the arrow's there, every time you see that FedEx logo, your brain will immediately seek out that arrow. And as you observe it over and over, the arrow will move from being unusual to being familiar. And in both of those cases, guess what else happens? You will only notice the arrow for a second or two because your brain activates when it sees it, moving from downtime into uptime. But since the arrow isn't really relevant or important to you, your brain quickly will revert back to downtime. So what does this all have to do with marketing? The short answer is everything. Understanding what wakes people up so they pay attention to what's going on to get our marketing message past the interrupt stage and into the engage stage. And when you engage your prospect, we've just increased our chance of selling to the people you're trying to engage by 1,000%. This is going to solve the problem that every other marketer hasn't been able to figure out, which is not just getting them interrupted, but also getting them engaged. Not just finding any old activator, but finding the right activator. Any idiot can simply interrupt people. In fact, that's very easy to do. The so-called marketing gurus on Madison Avenue do it all the time. Those guys and gals prefer to use activators that are based on things that are familiar and unusual because they're the easiest to pull off. Have you ever noticed how many different kinds of animals you see in advertising? That's because animals are familiar and likable, and the idea is that those animals will interrupt you by poking your conscious brain when they're detected by your reticular activator. Aflac has the duck, Geico has the gecko, and Coke has its polar bears. You constantly see dancing elephants, talking dogs, and finicky cats. All these animals have good interim value based on their familiarity. That's also the major reason that big advertisers use celebrities, familiarity. And what about activators based on unusual things? Well, that's what creativity is all about. Creativity's main purpose in advertising is to dream up something so weird, so strange, so shocking, so unusual that it'll snap you out of downtime and into uptime, otherwise known as the interrupt. But here's the key. Here's what no one else seems to understand, and what just may be the most important thing you'll learn in this presentation. Once the brain is activated, once it's been broken out of downtime and into uptime alert mode, it wants additional clarifying information. All right, it wants to be engaged. The brain wants to know, hey, what's this all about? How does it affect me? Do I need to do anything about this? Literally, on a subconscious level, the brain goes into fact-finding mission. The bottom line is the brain wants to know, how is this important and relevant to me? Should I allocate any conscious bandwidth to this? So it searches for additional facts. If it finds them, it'll become engaged. If not, it'll quickly revert back to downtime. We call these important relevant issues hot buttons. If you're a golf fan and your reticular activator detects that Tiger Woods is on television, it notices that on a conscious level because Tiger Woods is familiar. He's an activator. Then your brain immediately asks, hey, what's Tiger Woods doing driving a Buick? Is there anything here relevant or important to me? In other words, is there a hot button issue for me at this point in my life? What typically happens in your brain determines that Buick is not important or relevant to you. It doesn't have anything to do to solve any of your problems, and therefore it's not a hot button. And so your brain immediately reverts back into downtime. So let me be crystal clear here. An activator is something that snaps a person from downtime into uptime, and it's based on something that's familiar, unusual, problematic. But an activator can also be classified as a hot button, if and only if it's based on something that's important and relevant to your prospect. Your best bet to successfully interrupt and engage your target market is to identify problems, frustrations, uncertainties, and annoyances that your prospects have, and then address them in your marketing. Their pain in most cases is their hot button. And please don't think this is some sort of form of manipulation. All we're doing here is tapping into the problems that your prospects already have. We're not trying to manufacture a crisis for them. We're merely poking their problems and pointing out those problems so that their reticular activators notice and brings us onto their radar active screen, their active radar screen. Now here's a key point in all of this, and one that none of the big ad agencies understand, but one that you need to know in order to make all this work for you. The activators are used to interrupt the mode. The prospect must be based on a relevant hot button. If not, the prospect will momentarily be interrupted, but quickly revert from uptime back into downtime. This is what we call false uptime. Have you ever heard someone call out your name in a crowded room? That immediately interrupts you because your name is familiar. But when you turn around to see who that was calling you, you realize, oops, they were calling out to someone else with my name. Your name is an activator, but because in that situation your name wasn't important or relevant to you, it didn't engage you. You quickly reverted right back to downtime. That's what we call false uptime. Remember what I just said about the FedEx logo? Now that you know the arrow is there every time you see it, your brain will immediately seek it out because it's unusual. But more often you see it, that arrow shifts from being unusual to becoming familiar. Then you will only notice it for a second or two, and then your brain quickly reverts back into downtime because the arrow isn't relevant or important to you. This happens in marketing and advertising all the time. Most marketing interrupts, but it doesn't engage, just like Tiger Woods and Buick. He's famous, and you like golf, so that captures your attention and interrupts you. But when you find out it's not based on anything that's important to you, and there's nothing relevant, nothing that solves some problem that you have, you quickly revert into downtime. This is one of those things that almost no one understands, and one of the main reasons everything you've ever learned about marketing is wrong. You've been conditioned to believe that as long as you interrupt the prospect, that's it. That's good enough. The job is done. But you have to realize that if you only interrupt the prospect, that's only 1/4 of the conversion equation. You've got to include all 4 components: interrupt, engage, educate, and offer to get the maximum results from your marketing and advertising. Now, when it comes to actually writing marketing, we typically like to portray the hot buttons in the form of headlines. The headline is the first opportunity you have to interrupt Jane Doe. You've got maybe 1 to 3 seconds max to interrupt the prospects. So you better make sure that headline has activators in it, and those activators based on things that are important and relevant to that prospect. Remember, hot buttons, words and phrases that describe problems or frustrations that the prospect is feeling, so the reticular activator latches onto them and snaps them into uptime. In print advertising, magazines, newspapers, yellow pages, and so forth, the form of the headline is obvious. In radio, the headline is the first sentence you hear. On Google AdWords, it's the first bit of text they read. On television, it's the first thing they see and hear. In brochures, business cards, other marketing collateral, and your company website, it's the first thing they see. So let me give you 2 quick examples. First, a daycare, and second, for a child psychologist who worked with kids and behavioral problems. When I ask most daycare providers why parents should choose them instead of the 17 other local daycares, they almost always give me the same boring answers. High quality, attention to detail, we supervise better, our staff better, we're honest, we've taken care of more than 200 kids, and so on. Nothing but jargon. Unfortunately, that exact same jargon shows up in boring, ineffective headlines. For instance, when I looked at the marketing of various daycares, they said things like safe, nurturing, and creative environment, optimize your child's development, acclaimed by thousands of parents, accredited by industry professionals, a leader in early child care and education. Those were all real headlines from real ads, jargon and more jargon. But note this as well. These headlines all speak to the daycare, not to the prospect. You could place the word "we" in front of all that jargon and it would fit perfectly. We optimize your child's development. We're acclaimed by thousands of parents. We're accredited by industry professionals. Prospects don't care about the daycare. They care about themselves and their kids. None of those headlines addresses the problem or concerns of the parents, do they? If you really want to interrupt John and Jane Doe, you've got to use much more powerful language than that to get them to respond on an emotional level. How about this headline? To effectively communicate the concept of a safe, nurturing, and creative environment. Ever felt your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? Or how about this one? Is your daycare's idea of a good education curriculum watching Barney on TV? Or this one, introducing a daycare center that doesn't consider mac and cheese to be one of the 4 major food groups. All these headlines work in tandem with close-up pictures that work to reinforce this powerful and compelling message. That headline that said, ever felt your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? Next to it is a 4-year-old child sitting in the corner with his head buried in his hands crying. Talk about powerful, emotional, and compelling. Talk about interrupting. See how these headlines speak to those issues of the prospect instead of the daycare? See how they reflect a fanatical attention to detail that's the foundation of the daycare's inside reality? Of course you do, because it's obvious. Now what about the child psychologist who works with kids with behavioral problems? Most of these type of professionals say things like, we offer parenting advice and resources. We can help you get your child under control. Learn the secrets of well-behaved children. Well, look, as a parent of an out-of-control child, why would I want to know the secrets of well-behaved children? See what I mean when I say no one is getting it, that everything you know about marketing is wrong? If you have a child that embarrasses you in public that's basically uncontrollable and unmanageable, then aren't you desperate for a solution for that behavior? So what if the child psychologist uses this headline? Are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? Doesn't that immediately address the conversation going in the heads of these parents? Won't that headline immediately interrupt them and knock them out of downtime into uptime? Of course it will. Let's consider an example of a moving company. Most mover ads and websites have headlines that say something brilliant like, moving. Most of them have their company name and headline along the top of their website and marketing material. Or local and long distance. Why in the world would you ever say something like that? However, by changing their marketing so it followed the conversion equation, their new ad and web copy pulled an astounding 12 times more than the original ad. They went from averaging just 70 calls per month to 955 calls, and their conversion rate skyrocketed from 16% to 68%. Let me put this in another way. This moving company, just by changing what their ad said, went from generating 11 sales per month to a whopping 649 sales per month. Their new ad generated so much new business that they had to partner with 4 other competitors to help them handle the demand for their services. And oh, by the way, those same 4 competitors brought out that moving company 9 months later for $2 million, all due to following the conversion equation in their marketing. So what exactly was it that generated these fantastic results? Well, the new ad and website featured a headline that said this: last year, over 4,350 complaints and lawsuits were filed against moving companies in Dallas. Got your attention? You bet, because it hits on the prospects' hot buttons of uncertainty and problems that might arise when they move. Then they go on to describe what to look for and what to watch out for when moving. It educates the prospect as to what standards they should use to find the best value when hiring a moving company. Okay, to wrap this discussion about Interrupt Engage, let me address the topic of Engage specifically just for a moment. To successfully engage, all you have to do is use a headline or a subheadline that promises the reader that if they will keep reading and listening to the ad, they will get the information that will facilitate their marketing, making the best decision possible. No sales information, not here's how great we are information, but rather bona fide decision facilitating information. Sometimes the headline itself will engage, but more frequently it's subheadline that makes the promise to educate and therefore engages. Let's go back to the daycare ad and continue that example. Remember the one that had the headline that said, ever feel like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? The follow-up engage subheadline would simply say, how to ensure your child gets personal, loving, caring, one-on-one attention at daycare. Or the headline that said, is your daycare's idea of good educational curriculum watching Barney on TV? The follow-up headline that engages says, how would you like your child to be reading at first grade level before kindergarten starts? In both cases, these subheadlines clarify the first headline and then let the reader know that if they keep reading the ad, they can expect to find specific details regarding each of these major hot-button issues. In short, these subheadlines engage. The child psychologist that used the headline, are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? His subheadline said, now you can discover the secrets to controlling your child and instantly restore peace and quiet in your home. Show me just one parent experiencing this sort of behavior from their own child who wouldn't immediately respond to this ad. The moving ad, remember they had the headline, last year over 4,350 complaints and lawsuits were filed against moving companies in Dallas. It has a subheadline that reads as follows: ask these 15 questions to make sure that your moving company's policies, procedures, and standards will protect you from an unpleasant moving experience. So what do you think you might do? What you might find if you decide to keep reading the rest of this ad or website? That's right, 15 things to be aware of and to look for when choosing a mover. The subheadline engages the reader to continue reading and to find out the decision facilitating information. And that brings us to the third and fourth components of the conversion equation: educate and offer. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that every marketing piece should contain a low risk offer to encourage the prospect to take the next step. And that offer should generally be to receive additional information, or in other words, to further educate the prospect and build your case. Now here's the real key to success in marketing. The right offer allows you to capture a large percentage of all future buyers in addition to those looking to buy right now. There's an educational process that the prospect goes through from the moment they begin thinking about buying your product or service to the point where they actually complete the purchase. Most marketing only caters to those now buyers who will be making a purchase decision in the very near future and does nothing or very little to educate those who are thinking about it right now, but who might buy later. Here's the problem with that. At any given moment, the number of prospects who are ready to buy right now represent no more than 1 to 5% of all those who are ultimately going to buy what you sell. You've got 95 to 99% of your prospects who are in think about it and gathering information mode, but when they're attempting to gather information, you don't give it to them. This is where the fourth component of the conversion equation becomes absolutely huge. Your offer gives the opportunity to provide additional educational information to the gathering information mode prospects, and in the process capture valuable information about who these people are so you can proactively market to them on an ongoing basis. This allows you to take control of your target market. The daycare that we've been talking about makes a perfect example of this. How many parents that see that ad for daycare remember the one that says, "Ever felt like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person?" Or the one that said, is your daycare's idea of good educational curriculum watching Barney on TV? Remember those? How many of those readers do you think are ready and waiting to relocate their kid from current daycare to this daycare? And we're relieved to see this ad so they could finally make the switch. My guess, maybe 1% maximum, are now buyers. But because the headline and subheadline and images are so powerful, because they do such a good job of interrupting and engaging, a lot more parents who are not ready to buy right this minute are going to see those ads, pay attention, and be interested. The powerful ads could easily compel as many as 10, 15, or even 25% of the parents who read these ads to seriously contemplate changing their daycare services. But if the ads only offers the typical one that most daycares put in their ads, call for a free consultation, then none of those future buyers are going to call. Why would they? If you're not ready to make a change, why on earth would you call now for a free consultation? You wouldn't. Furthermore, the ad itself is relatively limited in size. The daycare can't possibly cram their entire case with all its associated evidence right there in that ad. It just won't fit. That's why we would recommend that the daycare provide what we call an informational offer. What if they offered everyone who calls a free report titled 10 Things Your Daycare May Not Tell You? This report uncovers the 10 critical areas all parents must know and investigate before they place their kids with anyone else offering daycare services. This revealing report compares the 17 most popular areas daycares against each other in all 10 of these areas, saving parents to their time, effort, and energy when making that all-important decision as to who will watch their child. But here's the really neat part about having this type of offer. When the parents do call in or go online to request their free report, the daycare can now capture the prospect's contact information and proactively market to them from now until forever. Then the daycare can set up what was called a drip campaign to consistently and repetitiously follow up with these interested parents and keep providing them with additional decision-making information until they finally become ready to buy. Depending on what you sell and the specific situation, there are actually 8 different types of informational offers that we create and offer your prospects. And if we want to dominate your marketplace, we've got to get your offers right as well. Hopefully, this is all coming together for you now. Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. Make up the conversion equation. And that equation is literally the backbone of all incredibly successful marketing campaigns we've ever put together. So I'm going to go ahead right now and wrap this up. You can probably tell from the depth of this information in this presentation that I have a bona fide step-by-step system that helps business owners like you become financially free using superior marketing that makes your phone ring. Remember, earlier I said that this system works for big Fortune 500 kinds of companies. End of the day, though, my passion lies with helping small businesses who are scraping, fighting, and battling every day just to earn a living. I'm offering the system to you as a way to reach the ultimate pinnacle of your life and your business. Achieve the financial freedom that you wish for you and your family, and basically give you the ability to do whatever you want to with your time and money. After all, you more than likely started your business because you have a true passion for yourself, a true passion for what you do. But when marketing is ineffective, your owning your business can become no more than working a poorly paying job. Compelling and successful marketing can provide you with financial freedom to pursue your real, true life ambitions. I believe that everyone has a cause that can be more fully pursued and supported when you're financially independent. Let me help you reach that goal. I have the tools and resources and support to help accomplish this in record time, and all I ask is you give me a chance to show you how I can help you, and I'll do it for free. I want to offer you one of 5 $5,000 business education grants to be used toward group coaching programs specifically developed to take you through the process of improving your marketing and business so you can dominate your competition. This grant never has to be repaid, It will give you weekly access to my group coaching, to a group coaching program that's led by me and a few of my colleagues. There are only 5 grants left for me to give out. To apply for one, you must click the I'm interested button on the right and complete the form that pops up. I'm going to pop that up for you guys right now, so give me a moment here. I'm going to go to this. All right, so if you're interested in one of the $5,000 grants, go ahead and click the I'm interested button right now. Now here's what you have to do to qualify for the grant. Basically, you have to be a small business, less than 5 years old, have fewer than 10 employees, and with a total annual revenue of less than $1 million. So if you fall into those categories, click the I'm interested button now and apply to get some more information on one of these $5,000 e-coaching grants, which I'm able to give out to you today. All right, and I have one more thing I want to offer you as well. So we're going to remove that first one. Give me one moment, folks. The second thing I want to offer you, when it pops up here, is a complimentary sales and marketing audit worth $1,000. Okay, and what I'm going to do in this audit is give you an opportunity to sit with me, and so I can review everything that you're doing in your business with respect to your marketing, take you through the conversion equation and see how your marketing applies to the conversion equation and how we can make it better so that you can get more leads and more prospects coming into your business. We can identify areas within your business where you can generate at least $10,000 in immediate cash flow just by changing the marketing that you're doing. And I'll provide this assessment as on a complimentary basis only for the next 24 hours. So if you want to get scheduled for the sales and marketing audit, click the sign up today button you see now on the screen and go ahead and fill out the web form that you'll see pop up. When you do, I'll get a notification, and of course I'll be in touch with you to set up a time and date to go do that audit with you. We'll do a screen share, or I'll even come to your place of business if you happen to be in my area. So once again, click the sign up today if you want that sales and marketing audit. I'm also going to put up the $5,000 e-coaching grant offer again. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click that right now. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to go to the chat box and see what kind of questions we have. Misty says, my WebPutter keeps buffering. I'm sorry about that, Misty. I'm not sure why that's happening. I have a picture of Steve on my screen. My artist set the price. How can I Linda says, my artist set the price. Competitions from galleries. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there, Linda, but we'll get back to you. Katrina says, mine either. I'm not sure why you guys were not seeing my screen. This should have worked. It was working when I tested it earlier, so I do apologize to those who could not see the PowerPoint throughout this presentation, but it should have been working through the whole time. So I'll have to check on that. And what I'll do is send you a recording of the presentation anyway, and that should show you the entire presentation PowerPoint that I went through. When you get the recording, you could actually expect to see that via email. So if there are any other questions, go ahead and ask them now. If not, we're going to wrap up for today. Again, if you're interested in either of the offers, the $5,000 e-coaching grant, you can click the I'm interested button now, or the $1,000 sales and marketing audit, again, complimentary, no obligation afterwards. Go ahead and sign up for that today. And I look forward to chatting with you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Skype at steve.messinio, or send me an email at steve@yourbizsuccesscoach.com. Again, thanks for attending and being part of this webinar, and look forward to helping you in building your business. Have a great day.